Okay, so in a bit of a Mathghamhain Morsels marathon that I have shooting tonight, this is going to be the third video, all done in the same night. And this is going to be episode 32, I think. It should be 32. This one I wasn't planning on doing until I mentioned in an episode of Minions of the Zoo. For those interested, it was Minions of the Zoo 686, which we had Sinatra Says on. And I mentioned that I made some spicy tuna onigiri, and he and a number of other people seemed interested, so I'm out of tuna, but I can show you guys how to make a spicy salmon onigiri, and I'll give you guys the basic steps in order to make the spicy tuna as well. Most of these ingredients are going to be really easy to find. So, for example, if you're making the tuna, I just got a tin of Wild Planet, and when I'm making tuna, it would be skipjack tuna. Since I'm making salmon today, it's wild pink salmon. Wild Planet is one of my favorite tinned fish companies that I am normally able to find. I get their sardines, I get their tuna and their salmon. All of it's really nicely flavored. So, crack open the tin of fish, and when you first crack it open, it doesn't look very appetizing. It's fish in a little bit of what looks to be water. Yeah, not the most appetizing thing, but just wait and see. So, you grab a fork, and you start pulling your tinned fish out and throw it into a bowl. You don't want the juice, you just want the meat. So, leave the juice in the bottom of the tin where it is. So there's pretty much all the meat. Let me cover that up and get it out of camera shot. Because, again, sorry about that noise. Getting a bit crowded around me. I have a cooling rack set up to pull the candied walnuts out here in a moment. But you start with the tuna. Then you add a 1-to-1 combination of Japanese mayo. The most common one that you'll be able to find normally is a brand called Kewpie. If you can't find Kewpie mayo, then what I would recommend, rather than just using a different mayo, is see if you can find what I'm going to be using today, which is a pre-mixed 1-to-1 sriracha mayo. But you do 1-to-1 Kewpie mayo and sriracha. In this case, I'm just using the pre-mixed. It works absolutely beautifully. If you want it a bit spicier, you add more sriracha. If you want it a bit more mild and you have the Kewpie mayo, then you just add a little bit more mayo and you're good to go. So, just going to kind of mash the salmon, and if you're using tuna, same exact recipe, works for tuna. Mash that and the sriracha mayo together. I might have to add a little bit more as I go, just going by the consistency. So, there's a little bit of that. Then, to have a more flavorful onigiri filling, I'm going to add some pickled green onions. The one that I'm using currently, I made all the pickled green onions that I use in any of these. One of them is a very, very simple pickling solution, which is some seasoned rice wine vinegar, a splash of mirin, some hot chili oil. I'm run out of that, but it comes in a bottle that looks like this. It's this brilliantly reddish purple, or reddish orange rather, chili sauce. Has some Szechuan peppercorns, which kind of numb your lips. Absolutely delicious. A bit of 5-spice, a touch of garlic, a splash of sugar, and a fair bit of salt. Just like with the marinade and with the vinaigrette that I showed you, you want the flavors too potent. And also a splash of sesame oil in the simple one. You want the flavors too potent because once it pickles up the onion has the proper level of flavor. The one that I'm currently using is different, and I can't show you guys the bottle to a couple of the ingredients because it would partially dox me given where the store that I bought these is located. But I'm using a blackberry and ginger dark balsamic mixed with, again, a nice toasted sesame seed oil. Then a splash of soy sauce, just for a bit of salty umami goodness. Some garlic, including black garlic. Then the chili oil again, because that stuff is absolutely amazing. And a splash of mirin as well again, or mirin rather. So I'm just going to pull out some of the green onions. I also have some cucumber bits pickled in here. Those will be for a rice bowl I'm making later in the week. But you can use this pickling solution for a bunch of different flavors. Cucumber, for green onion, for normal onion. All of that works beautifully. So add in the pickled green onion. You can also just use fresh green onion if you don't feel like going through the process of pickling up some onion. Mix that through. And yeah, I'm going to need to add a bit more of the sriracha mayo just to get the right consistency. Because you want it to kind of all be glooped together by the sriracha mayo. So that texture looks much better. You can pick it up, kind of slice off segments of it. It holds together a fair bit. That's the texture that you want for your onigiri filling. And this, I'm just going to set off to the side and let those flavors marry together a bit more. It will be absolutely delicious. So these, just going to set to the side. Now then, whenever you're making onigiri, onigiri is a Japanese rice bowl. So, of course, you need rice. But the obnoxious part is you need to wash your rice first. So, I'm just going to show you the general process of how to wash the rice. I'm not going to make you guys suffer through the entire time of washing rice because it can be very redundant and obnoxious. So, I'm going to use a jasmine rice. If you want a more traditional rice to use for rice bowls, instead of using jasmine rice, see if you can find nishiki rice, sometimes just called sushi rice. And that is a bit more normal. It's a short-grained rice. So you toss your rice into water, and you just want to very gently, so that you aren't crushing it or really damaging the grains of the rice. Run your hands and your fingers through the rice. You can already see the amount of starch that has come out into the water as I'm doing this. I'm doing this a bit slower than I would normally be doing, just to give you guys a good visual, but you want to keep your washing cycles fairly short normally. So this is about at the point where I need to drain this. I'm going to be using just a wire sieve with small enough holes so that the rice doesn't get to run straight out. And I'll just be filling this back up with water again, putting my rice in, moving it around until the water goes opaque, straining it, filling it, straining it, filling it, and I'm going to do that at least 4 times. If you really want to go all out, you do it until the water stays crystal clear. But that takes a really long time. So I will join you guys after the rice is done cleaning and after I cook it. Okay, so here we are back with the rice that has just come out of the steamer. You can see that beautiful billowing steam. We want to flavor this up a bit before we use it, so we're going to use some of that seasoned rice wine vinegar. I just have a little bit in that bottle. Let me grab another bottle real quick. Okay. So add a little bit more rice wine vinegar than what I had in that first bit. Just a nice splash of rice wine vinegar. Then, to add just a bit more flavor and a bit more color, I'm also going to add some tuxedo sesame seeds. You can choose whether you want to add this or not. The rice wine vinegar really should be added. And then I'm just going to mix that in and kind of fluff the rice with my rice paddle here. Get that all mixed in. And then I'm going to let this rice cool for a bit because it is too hot to work with right now. But I'll be back once this is cool enough to work, and I'll show you guys how I form my little onigiri. Okay, the rice has come down to a temperature that I can actually work with it. So as I said, I'm making onigiri. Onigiri are rice balls, but typically they're in a triangular shape. I'm not good at making the triangular shape by hand. I don't have a mold. So I don't make mine in a triangular shape. Mine end up kind of hemispherical because what I do is I take a good bowl that I have and I use the bowl. So the first thing that goes down into the bowl is a square, or in this case a rectangle, since I didn't cut a proper square, of nori. So I just kind of press that loosely into the bottom. It won't stay there until some rice is put down in. So I put rice down in, and then you can either do this entirely by hand, or I tend to use hand and a spoon. I just kind of press the rice down and around. Get some more rice. Might have too much in there now, but I'll see as I work this into the shape that I want it. You want a decent wall in your onigiri, because that's what's going to hold it together. So, having a bit of a thick side, that's perfectly fine, but you just want to end up with a fairly consistent coating, and then the top tends to get a bit thin, so what I do is I just go around and I flatten out the top edge to get it all more uniform thickness. There we go. And let me run my spoon around the inside again. So there we go. I have the onigiri formed up so that it's in a bowl, and you can see that there's a rather sizable well in the center of it. Into this well goes that fantastic spicy tuna mixture that we made earlier. And I just kind of tamp that down into the well, make sure that it doesn't rise higher than the wall of the well. But I want to get a good amount of filling in, because the filling is the best part for me. If you want less filling, you can do a bit less filling. I like the filling. So I just fill that well entirely up so that the surface is flush with the wall, and then toss another thing of rice down on. And this one I tend to press down with my hand rather than using the spoon again. And I just work it to the edge. If you wet down your fingers, it'll stick a bit less, or the rice will stick a bit less to you. For me, for some reason, it doesn't seem to matter how much I wet down my fingers. It always wants to stick to me. So I don't really bother with it. But you want to cover that entire surface. Get the rice pressed down. If you're nervous about trying to get this out of the bowl, you can line your bowl with cling film and use the cling film to pull your onigiri out. What I found works about 90% of the time is just turn it over, give it a good whack. If it doesn't go with one whack, I give it a second whack. This one is really wanting to stick. And if it doesn't go with a second whack, then I kind of work my rice paddle around the end, just kind of pulling away from the wall a little bit. And then I give it a third good whack, and this one is not wanting to come out. So this would have been a good case if I had actually done the well. This sometimes happens. And I've got one part of this that tends to make it stick a bit less to the cutting board like that. So let me pop this back down. Rebuild the bottom. Stick the rice on. Press the rice down and onto the wall of this. Make sure that it gets fused back together. So in order to keep the bottom rice from sticking to things as much, you can add some salt, and I always season them up a bit. Anyways, so I'm just using a red lily sea salt. And what I'm going to do is just go around the edge and kind of unstick this from the bowl. This has happened a couple times where I've had to do this. Most of the time I can just whack it out without any issue, and that is definitely going to be cut out by someone, isn't it? There's going to be a recording of me just saying normally I can whack it out. So, there's one onigiri. I normally give them a little bit of time to set up before I start trying to move them around, just to let them gel together a bit better. But let me show you guys what it looks like. Just a nice little rice ball. When I do set them down, I set them down flat side, down the flat side that I salted, and let that nice nori leaf be presented up. So, since that first one stuck, there's a couple different ways of trying to make sure that the second one won't stick. You can use cling film, like I said. I also said that dusting the bottom with some salt helps keep it from sticking. So what you can do is you can grind some salt into the bottom of your bowl and just kind of spin your bowl around, letting the salt sit, because there will be certain places that the rice stuck more to, and it leaves some moisture behind. So this one will be a bit saltier than the first one. And again, grab a square of nori, just kind of gently push it down. Get some rice, drop that down into the center. Get your spoon, and again, you're just going to press down into the side with your spoon. Down into the side. Because you want to build up that well again. And you kind of want to make sure that the rice is all glommed together. So get another glob of rice. And like I said, the walls are what helps it maintain its shape, so you want to have a decently thick wall. In order to make sure that they hold together and don't just suddenly fall apart. There we go. Press down the outer lip to kind of true up the edge. Just need a little bit more rice on one side because it's a bit lower than the rest. What I'm going to do is again press down and up. Try to true it up, try to get about equal distribution. That looks pretty good. Again, nice sizable divot. Grab more of our delicious, spicy salmon. And I forgot to show you guys when you're having a taste of this. So. The heat of the sriracha sauce with the creamy fattiness of the kewpie mayo and the taste of the salmon and that little bit of pickled onion. Oh man, that's an absolutely fantastic flavor combination. So again, scoop out more rice, stick it on top. Press down and out. Because you want a decent bottom to your onigiri as well. And just gently pull a little bit back in order to make sure that or segment of that wall off. Let me put some of this, push it down and in. Salt this. Press down around the edge just to make sure that I got good closure on the edge. Now then, will I be able to whack this one out nicely like I normally can? Or will this one also try to stick a lot? And the answer is this one. It's trying to stick a lot as well. So let me do what I did before. You can also try to grease up your mold, which I will do for the third one. Because I just don't feel like getting plastic wrap out to deal with this. So I'm purposely avoiding plastic wrap. Plastic wrap is a nice, safe option, though. It always comes out with plastic wrap. But here's another beautiful onigiri. So let me quickly wash out my little bowl that I'm using as a mold. Then I'll be back. I'll grease up the outside a little bit just to let the next onigiri come out a bit easier. Okay, so just greased up the mold after rinsing it out with that last bit of my chili oil. Very, very light greasing, but I'll still add a little bit of flavor, which, if I'm going to have to grease something, I want it to add some flavor. Grab some of this rice. This is going to be a small rice ball because I don't have much filling left, and I'm running low on my rice as well. So this one should also stick a bit less because there's not as much to let it stick, because there won't be as big of a rice ball, so there won't be as much contact with the walls. Already this is sliding around a fair bit more from that very light greasing that I gave it. I need just a little bit more in order to make enough of a wall for this rice ball, but I don't want to use too much of the rice and end up not being able to seal the bottom. So let's see. Let me scrape the rice off the paddle as I toss it in. And that will hopefully be just enough rice to make the divot that I need. Shore it up by again pressing down on the outer wall. This one has a very shallow divot because it's just dealing with this last spoonful. And this stuff's good to eat as is, so if you have a little bit stuck on your spoon after you make your last one, just go to town on it. It's delicious. So there it is. That tiny, tiny onigiri that I'm going to be making. Let me scrape down the last bit of the rice that I have available. To make sure that I have just enough to close this up. Just a little bit more. There we go. And this one I'll use the spoon to help move around the top layer of rice and get it all into position. Let's see if I can't find just a little bit more rice to scrape out of this bowl. Because all I need is a little bit more. Oh, and I realized I forgot to mention how much rice I made. And I made about, I'd say, 1.5 cups of rice. And I'm getting 2 of my normal full-size onigiri. And 1 small one. Seal up that little bit. Come on, seal up. That is sealed enough, I think. Just barely have enough for that. Salt the bottom as per usual. Now then, this one should come out like a dream, and it did. So, normally I give these a little bit of time just to kind of glom together and hold up a bit better. But you guys probably want me to take a bite and tell you about the flavor. So, I'll go for this last one that I made, the small one, because I've already had some candied walnuts and the burger from episode 30 today. So I don't need to eat too much more. Let me get those out of the way. So, here's my little onigiri. It looks absolutely beautiful. If you want, you can finish these up by giving them a quick toast in a skillet with some ghee in the bottom, or a bit of wok oil. Either of those cooking fats will work. Toast up the bottom just gives a nice little crunchy aspect to them. So, let's see, can I get a clearer cross-section? That seems to be making it worse. There we go. That's the right amount of light for this. You can see the cross-section with that spicy salmon in the middle. Getting a good amount of heat from it with that nice little spring of acidity from the pickled green onion. The saltiness of the little bit of salt that I put on the bottom, as well as the briny ocean taste of the nori. Oh, this is delicious. This is a perfect little snack or small lunch. Well, not just this one alone, but two of these for a lunch or one of them for a snack. Oh, hell yeah. The flavor is fantastic. They just marry together so well. You get the acidic, pickled onion flavor. And I can still taste the blackberry and ginger. Taste to the olive oil, or to the balsamic vinegar that I used in this. I can taste the toasted sesame oil. The salmon's delicious. The heat from it, the creaminess of it. Ah. Absolutely fantastic. So, I'll leave you guys off here, rather than torturing you by making you watch me eat the rest of this little onigiri. But before I go, I'll tell you guys to try something new. I'm willing to bet that the majority of you probably haven't made onigiri. You probably haven't made spicy tuna or spicy salmon. Give it a go. It's easy to make. 1 tin of a good tuna or good salmon, kewpie, mayo, sriracha, mix it together, add in some pickled green onion. You can pickle up some ginger, throw that in. Add whatever kind of flavors you want to it. Tweak it this way and that, make it spicier, make it a bit more mild. Experiment with it. Have fun. Make your own sushi. Make your own onigiri. Just enjoy your food. Enjoy your life. Experiment. And with that, have a good one all.